Hey there, thanks so much for watching and welcome to today's mini class on the steps to homeownership, where in this video I'm going to cover everything that you need to know from A to Z in a high-level overview of the home buying process. It is going to be a high-level overview, not nearly as long as our masterclass that we teach, but there's going to be a lot of information coming at you. So if you're the type to take notes, I would heavily encourage you to grab a pen and a paper so that way you can make sure to retain all of the information, because I do tend to talk quickly, and I always joke, if I talk too fast for you, just try to listen a little bit faster, okay? Lame jokes aside, I do want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and what we're going to cover today are the steps to homeownership that I break down into what I call the 7 steps to achieving homeownership. Now, each of these steps is going to be laid out in chronological order from 1 to 7 so that you have an understanding of what the process looks like, and then if you have more questions or want to dive in deeper, you can watch some of my other videos or schedule a call to go in further detail. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the 7 steps to homeownership. So real quick before I dive into the 7 steps, I just want to go ahead and introduce myself so you know who I am and why I have any authority, if any at all, to be talking about this process. Well, my name is Patrick, and I'm both a licensed mortgage broker and a real estate professional, and I have been helping families for years to purchase, buy, sell, and invest in real estate. In my time, I've helped over 1,000 families buy, sell, or invest in real estate, and it's something I'm very passionate about. From an early age, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I knew I wanted to grow wealth for myself and through my family, and real estate has always been one of those things that intrigued me. Well, years later, I go ahead and I get licensed, and I start crushing it in the real estate business. I decided to go ahead and add my mortgage broker license to my real estate license, and now I'm a fully equipped, dangerous machine when it comes to helping people get into homeownership. And I like to make videos like this because it's a great way to educate lots of people in a short amount of time using a format that we can all appreciate, which is video, and helping others become knowledgeable and informed as well. Now, I found that there's so much misinformation out there. Bad information, old information, just untrue information. So I'm going to do my best to clear those myths out of the way in today's video and leave you with concise, actionable information that will help you feel empowered and prepared to eventually step into homeownership. So let's go ahead and dive into the 7 steps. So step number 1, prepare and educate yourself. Now, quick disclaimer, I am located in the beautiful sunny state of Georgia. It's not where I grew up, but it's where I now call home and hang my head. And a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today are going to be relevant for no matter where you are in the United States of America. However, I will use some language that is going to be specific to Georgia. And I would say, although 90 to 95% of what I'm going to cover will be relevant no matter where you live in the country, make sure that you are consulting with a local professional just in case there's specific state or even county nuances that might vary state by state. A great example to give you real quick is here in the state of Georgia, we facilitate our closings using a closing attorney, whereas in many other states, the use of a title company or a mobile notary is how buyers and sellers get together to sign their documents. There's no right or wrong way, it's just subtle differences that you'll see when you go state to state. So if you see anything or hear anything that confuses you or sounds like it might not be relevant to where you are in the country, that's probably why. Although again, I'd say 90 to 95% of what I'm going to cover is going to be relevant no matter where you live in the beautiful states of America. Now, you've already done a great job because you've technically taken the first step by clicking on this video. Now, educating yourself and preparing yourself can be done in many different ways, but I think that by watching this video, you will essentially have checked that one off the list. Now, if you feel like you have further questions, I would encourage you to book a call with me or whoever that you trust as your real estate professional and go through some of those specific scenario type questions that may be more relevant to you and your personal situation. However, in terms of general planning and understanding, this class should cover it for you. Okay, moving on. So step number 1 is to plan and to prepare, and that's an information gathering phase. That's where you are now. But step number 2 is a little bit more actionable. It's scheduling your planning session. Now, scheduling a planning session can be done in a multitude of ways. It can be done alone, it can be done with your significant other or a friend, or it can be done with a professional. Depending on how you choose to move forward, you're going to accomplish the same thing in a couple of different ways. The most essential things about a planning phase is going to be to have a clear outline of what your goals are. Whether you use a whiteboard or a notebook, I would encourage you to write down what your needs are and your must-haves in a home. Also, if there's anything that you're unhappy about with your current situation, make sure to note those down as well so you don't lose track of why you're really doing this in the first place. Failing to plan is planning to fail, as a wise man once said. And without a proper plan in place, you are always going to feel like you're not quite centered and you don't know what comes next. So, clarifying your own goals and your own objectives is very important. I would encourage you to ask yourself, when do I want to make this switch? When do I want to move? When do I want to become a homeowner? Give yourself a deadline. It doesn't have to be the end all be all, but it's really great to have a deadline in place so you have something to move towards. In addition to that, ask yourself, when I think about buying a home and I envision myself in that home, what does it look like? This is a great question to ask because as you close your eyes and imagine what this future home of yours might look like, a few details are going to come to light that may be worth noting down. Maybe you picture having a really large, beautiful lawn. Maybe you picture having no neighbors near you. Or maybe you picture a cute neighborhood with lots of friendly neighbors. There's no right or wrong way to decide where you want to live and what kind of home you want to live in. There's only a right or a wrong way for you. And making sure that you write down what your goals are, what your needs are, and what your must-haves are is a great way to help you start to fine-tune what that process looks like. After you go ahead and schedule your planning session and successfully complete your planning, again, maybe you do this by yourself, maybe you do it with your significant other or a friend, or maybe you meet with your real estate or mortgage professional to do this, the very next step is going to be to get your finances in order. And now I still consider this step 2 because it does go hand in hand with the planning phase, but getting your pre-approval is a very important part of the beginning process because it's going to outline a few things for you. Number 1, a mortgage pre-approval is going to help you understand what your down payment requirements will be and what your monthly obligations will be. Don't forget that it's not always just your principal and interest on the loan, but also your taxes and your insurance and possible HOA dues get lumped into that as well. Past that, you also have an understanding of what market conditions are like, what are interest rates like, and how much exactly are closing costs. That's what the pre-approval process is for. Plus, you get that magical golden ticket that says, hey, look, I'm pre-approved. And this is sort of your entry pass into a lot of showings or open houses because most real estate professionals will want to see that their buyers are pre-approved before showing them homes. Now, that's step number 2. It's your planning session and your pre-approval. Moving past that is really where things start to heat up. Step number 3 would be finding your new home. Now, this is what most people consider the first step when they start thinking about buying a home, but it's really step 3 because there's so much that goes on in the planning and preparing before it. However, there's no argument that finding your home is probably the most glamorous and for most people the most fun part of the process. This is when you and your realtor get out and you start looking at different properties, whether it's online or in person or virtual tours, and you really start to understand what you like and what you don't like about a home. Now, I've seen this process vary in length of time from anywhere from a week or a few short weeks to over a year. As a matter of fact, we had a client that we showed homes for over 2 years because they were looking for something really special. Now, although this took quite a bit of time, a little longer than we expected, I have to say it was one of the most gratifying experiences at the end of the day when the client finally found the one. Because there's nothing like it. When you find your home, a feeling will overwhelm you that, yes, this is the home I've been searching for, and there's nothing that makes us smile more than knowing that we helped match up a family with their perfect home. But yes, you will get out and you will start home shopping. Now, depending on the realtor or real estate broker that you work with, this may be facilitated in a few different ways. It's very common for a realtor or real estate broker to send or email their clients listings, and then for you as the client to choose from a few of these listings that you're interested in going to tour. From there, you'd go look at these homes in person or virtually. You'd check out the interior, the exterior. I would encourage you to make this almost like a mini home inspection where you look for, potential repairs or deferred maintenance. So this way you get an idea of if the home was kept well. And then eventually, after you've done this enough times, you will really start to hone in on what you like and what you don't like about a home. I always tell my clients it's a great idea to make your list of what you want and what you don't want before you get started, but don't be afraid to let that list change. I've seen a lot of people tell me, hey, this is a must-have for me. I absolutely need a home with a built-in swimming pool. But then the home that they ended up buying didn't have that built-in swimming pool because as they've really gotten out and started shopping, they realized that there was other things that were more important to them, and a swimming pool above ground or in ground is something that can be added on later. Or for example, I've had clients tell me that they absolutely must have a home on a basement, But upon further inquiry, I learned that the basement is really just a metaphor for I need enough space and storage that I don't feel cramped in my own home. And that can be accomplished in different ways too. Maybe you have an external dwelling unit or some storage on the property. Maybe you don't have a basement, but you have a full walkable attic that's insulated and 6 feet high, and you can put your belongings in that. Or maybe you just have an oversized 2 or 3 car garage, and that ends up being enough space for you. Whatever it is, know that your changes and your goals probably will start to shift as you get out and start shopping for a home. But again, this is the fun part of the process, so I don't want to spend too much time on it other than it should feel fun, and if it doesn't feel pleasant, you might want to reconsider who you're working with, because yes, it's a big decision, but it should be something that you are looking forward to, not something that you don't want to go do like you have a test later in the day that you're trying to avoid, okay? So make sure that you're working with someone that makes it an enjoyable experience for you, and if not, consider asking friends and family that have bought homes for referrals. Who did they use and what do they recommend and who do they recommend for this process? Because there's a lot of real estate professionals out there and they're not all created the same. Now, assuming you work with a great realtor that helps you find this home and you eventually start to close in on the one that feels like the one, then you're going to move on to step number 4, which is submitting an offer and negotiating terms. Now, this is a part of the process that is very, very important to not overlook because your real estate professional should be helping you with this. Every market is different and every day in the market is different. And it wouldn't be right, fair, or even very accurate for me to try to tell you what kind of negotiating or offer you should make in this video. Frankly, because even if you watch this video 6 months from now, the advice that I would give may be totally different. Plus, every state and local market does have nuances. So the most important thing I can say about submitting an offer and negotiating terms is make sure you're working with a world-class real estate professional. Someone with years of experience in the business that sells more than just a couple homes a year. There's a lot of part-timers that don't know what they're doing, and you want to make sure you're getting advice from someone that you can trust. Now, depending on the market, it may be advisable to offer listing price. You may be able to negotiate less than listing price, or you may be able to negotiate closing costs, extended inspections, or contingencies, some of these or all of these things. And again, I'm just scratching the surface with the potential different things that could be included in your contract. So again, really, when it comes to submitting an offer and negotiating terms, the best advice that I can give you is to make sure that you are choosing a really world-class professional to help you with this process, okay? Assuming you chose the right person to help you through this process, after you submit and negotiate your offer, you will go to step number 5, which we refer to as under contract. Now, this is also referred to as going in escrow, going under escrow, opening escrow, going pending. There's a lot of different terms that people use to describe getting an offer accepted, but here I like to refer to it simply as going under contract because you as the buyer will submit a purchase contract to the seller that they then sign and send back to you. And now you have a contract in hand, so we call it going under contract. In most cases, you're going to order one or multiple types of inspections. Now, you can get a general home inspection, which is the most common type of inspection for buyers, where you have a licensed home inspection professional search the property for you and give you an A to Z list of everything that you might need to know. Now, understand that in most cases, these home inspectors are generalists, not specialists. It doesn't mean that they don't know what they're talking about, but what that means is they are a jack of all trades and less often a master of any. So you will usually want to follow up with any critical information in this inspection report with someone that is licensed in that arena. For example, our home inspectors do everything from crawl down to the crawl space to give you a plumbing and termite report, all the way up to the middle of the home to make sure there's no settlement or foundation issues or appliance issues or issues with the electrical outlets or the lighting or anything, cracked windows. And then they'll make their way up to the attic. Well, they'll look at everything that the attic has in there, more electric and insulation, and is there any pest intrusion or anything like that. Although they give you this great report that can often be quite long and quite intimidating, any critical information in there really needs to be followed up with by a licensed professional. So if my home inspector says, hey, I put my device into the outlets and I determined that there was multiple failed outlets, I would want to get an electrician out there that's licensed to do further evaluation and make sure that there's no bigger issues. Maybe they just need to replace a few outlets. That can happen. Outlets fail over time. They're not terribly lifelong lasting, pieces of equipment. but it could also be a sign of a bigger issue, like a breaker issue or a faulty ground or just major wiring concerns that the home has. Where a home inspector will point out these issues, they're not going to be able to uncover the full thing. Same thing with plumbing. An inspector might tell you that there's an obvious sign of a leak because they detected moisture and water buildup. But you might want to get a plumber out there to really give you the full scope of the situation. It could be as simple as a clogged drain, or as big of an issue as the entire plumbing needing to be replaced throughout the home. But you won't know this without having these inspections done. So I would encourage you again to work with a trusted, world-class real estate professional that will be able to guide you on these recommended inspections. But in most cases, as a first-time home buyer or just a home buyer in general, you're going to want to at least have a home inspection. Now, there was a time in the market a few years ago during the crazy pandemic season that buyers were waiving their home inspections, and we were pleading with them not to do it. However, in a highly competitive situation, some of these buyers felt pressured that their offers wouldn't be accepted unless they agreed not to do a home inspection. For me, that's a huge red flag. It would be like buying a vehicle without letting my mechanic check it out. There's so many things that could go wrong, and you have little to no repercussions or recourse if this home has major repair issues because you knowledgeably agreed to waive your home inspection. So there's really no situation, unless maybe you're a licensed contractor or a home inspector yourself, for you to waive your inspection contingency, okay? After you go under contract and do your home inspection, a few things are going to start happening. Number one is you're going to start going through your disclosures with your closing attorneys, you're going to start going through your mortgage paperwork, and you're probably also going to have to order an appraisal depending on the type of financing you got. Again, you should be guided through all of these steps with the help of your real estate professional and your mortgage professional, and you shouldn't feel like you have to have this whole thing mapped out on your own. However, do know that that is the typical procession. You go under contract, you do one or more inspections, and then after the inspection, you negotiate any things that are additionally needed, maybe repairs or maintenance issues, and then you'll go ahead and order your appraisal, finish up your financing, and then move on into the last leg of the race, which is step number 6, and we call it final loan approval. Now, final loan approval is really just the tail end of being an escrow when all of the financing documents come together and you prepare for closing. During the time that you've been under contract of the home, your mortgage professional has worked with your closing attorney or title company to get things like your proration of taxes, any HOA dues that may be necessary, your insurance situation figured out, and a few other financials that are going to be important to close on the loan. Now, once you have this final loan approval, it's usually a green light to say, hey, we're ready to go to closing and finally make this happen. And then the very last step that we refer to as step number 7, Celebration Day, also known as Closing Day. But here we like to call it Celebration Day because it really is a celebration. Now understand, at this point of the process, you have been pre-approved, you've been planning, you've shopped for your home, you found a home, you went under contract on a home, you negotiated your offer, your negotiation terms, your inspection, you went through an appraisal, you probably might have gotten a few gray hairs at this point. And so it really does feel like a celebration because you are finally at the end of this wonderful journey to where you get to go to the office of your closing attorney or title company, sign on the dotted line, and take possession of that beautiful new asset of yours known as a home. Then you get to move in, which can be fun too, depending on if you hire movers or you got a lot of boxes in the back of your truck. But we definitely recommend hiring a professional moving company if you have more than one-bedroom apartments worth of belongings. That being said, the closing can vary depending again on what state or area you're in. And nowadays, there's a lot of tech-friendly accommodations to help people that don't want to go to the traditional closing attorney's office and sign on the paper. We personally offer hybrid closings where we actually allow our borrowers to electronically sign over half of the documents necessary at the office. So all you really go in and sign is a few pieces of paper and show your ID to certify that the home is yours. In other cases, you may even be able to do an out-of-state mail-away closing or a mobile closing, depending on the situation that you find yourself in and what your closing attorney and real estate brokers allow. However, moving into the home is going to be where we end the 7 steps to homeownership today. Although that point, the homeownership journey is really just beginning, and we'll cover homeownership tips for new homeowners in a future video. But that again is our high-level overview of the home buying process from step number 1, which is planning and preparing. Step number 2, which is scheduling your planning session and getting pre-approved. Step number 3, which was finding your new home and choosing the right realtor partner. Step number 4 was submitting an offer and negotiating terms. And then we moved into step number 5, which was going under contract, where you do your inspections, your appraisals, and quite a few other things that help you make sure that you decided on the right home. Then you move into step number 6, which is your final loan approval, which is the last thing necessary before ultimately moving to step number 7, which is celebration day, where you close on your new home and you move in. Now, I did my best to keep this video as high level as possible, and I didn't want to make it too long for fear that we might lose a few of you. So if you did decide to go ahead and watch and stay till the end of the video, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully it's something that you found helpful. Hopefully you feel a little bit more prepared and empowered to get into the journey of homeownership. And if you have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm super easy to reach. My cell phone is 404-974-6722, and you can call or text at any time. In addition, you can also visit my website. I'll leave a link below. And you can check out some of our other videos as well, either by clicking my YouTube channel or clicking the cards up ahead, wherever it shows up at the top of this video. If you have personalized questions about your specific scenario, I would encourage you to schedule a 15-minute consultation. There's a link down below in the description section where you can schedule a free call, absolutely free, 15 minutes long, where I can answer any questions that you have about your personal situation and do my best to point you in the right direction and put you on track for making homeownership happen this year. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did find it helpful, I would personally really appreciate it if you could like or subscribe or even leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. Or if you disagree with anything I said, that's okay too. We're never perfect and we always get better every day, especially when we get to challenge our information. So if I said something that didn't sound quite right to you, leave it in the comments. I'd be happy to clarify or have an open discussion about it. We're all just trying to get better, and as we continue to educate ourselves and move towards our goals, I hope that we all keep that in mind and can find ourselves coming closer together rather than farther apart. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you make it $1 million day. Bye now.
Step into the unknown, 'cause this is where dreams are born.